or $118 million a year in foreign aid. Do you know how much goes back over the border in remittances back to that country from their people who are living here?
Probably double.
4.6 billion.
Oh, wow.
We give Guatemala $256 million in foreign aid. Their Guatemalan citizens who are living here send $7.7 billion back home. Honduras gets $180 million in foreign aid. $3.8 billion gets sent back. Mexico gets $289 million in foreign aid. $30 billion goes back over our borders to Mexico. Somalia, they get $583 million in foreign aid from us. And there's no data of any money that gets sent back in remittances to Somalia. But this is something that Angel Families is going to be fighting here, hopefully at the beginning of next year, and start fighting with legislators across the country to get remittance tax in place in every state. These illegals are sucking our communities dry of our education system, our roads, our medical, our hospitals are overrun, and it's time that they start giving back some of their tax-free money that they're making here and sending back home. It belongs back in our communities. And it will be a way to really point out the state level politicians who are not willing to step up and do something that they need to do for American people. How can they deny taxing these people to shore up the education shortages in every state that we've got? How can they do that? So it's going to be a good way to kind of throw egg on these liberal politicians and make them step up and work across the aisle and get this enacted. Oklahoma is the only state right now that has a remittance tax, and in 2015 they had a 1% remittance tax. They collected $11 million that year. That was a 1% remittance tax, and that was in 2015, before this flood of people has come in. So you can see the amount of money that's leaving our country. And Billy Inman, before he died, we had a conversation. And the job that he worked out, he was working with a couple of illegals, and this one kid said, "You guys are fools. You think that we're sending our money home to our grandmas. We're sending our money home to our families. They're buying farms and they're buying auto repair shops. And once we've done what we need to do to your country, we're going to go back home and we're going to be living a great life." This is what they're doing, folks. Right under our noses. I just wanted to go over a couple things. What's happened in the recent past. Some things that are happening in different states. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper had just vetoed a bill a few months ago requiring their counties to work with ICE in North Carolina. And Sheriff Gary McFadden says the bills would make communities less safe if they worked with ICE officials. These are the men and women who go into these communities and get illegal alien criminals out of our country. And Sheriff McFadden thinks that's going to make their communities less safe by getting rid of these criminals. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker had just signed a bill to protect illegal renters. So if a landlord found out that somebody who was renting from them was an illegal alien, they were not able to kick them out of their property. New York Mayor de Blasio had just made it easier for people in this country illegally to apply for the city's highly competitive, affordable housing lotteries. So, you know, New Yorkers are just kind of like thrown by the wayside because now these illegals get to enter the lottery also. Montgomery County, Maryland had just arrested a Honduran man. So a few months ago, it was at 4, and now we're at number 9 in Montgomery County.
Sanctuary County, Maryland.
Correct. The list goes on and on with sanctuary policies that elected officials are putting into place to protect illegal criminals and allowing more and more innocent Americans to become collateral damage, because that's what my son was, and that's what Grant Ronnebeck was, and that's what Becky was. Collateral damage for the ineffectiveness of our elected officials in Washington. They do not want to do their job. And on top of it, illegal aliens are suing our government because they were separated at the border for a few weeks from their child. First of all, you came to this country, you knew something like that could happen to you at the border. You brought this upon yourself. Guess what? We can't sue the government for what's happened to our child. And our child was following the law. My son was a law enforcement officer. But I don't have the avenue to sue our federal government. That's pretty sick, because there's a lot of them in Congress that I'd really like to get a hold of and sue, trust me. In the meantime, we've got a president who has 400 miles of border wall that will be finished by the end of this year. Some of it is replacing some of the older wall, but it is necessary. It's new wall going up. He has also called on Congress to close dangerous loopholes, such as the catch and release, which I just read an article today that Trump is really going to be going after that in the next couple of days, and to stop chain migration, and to stop the visa lottery program that allows a lot of these illegal aliens from other foreign countries, not so much Central America, to come into our country. Last year, the DOJ announced nearly $100 million in grant funding to hire hundreds of additional law enforcement officers. And here's the results. ICE enforcement and removal operations arrested 158,581 illegal alien criminals. That was an 11% increase from fiscal year 2017. 90% of those arrested had criminal convictions, pending charges, or had been previously deported, and they were back. So hopefully some of this information that Steve and I have been able to get out to you is something you haven't heard. We try and touch on issues that maybe the mainstream media isn't focusing on, that we know is not reported on widely. But I do just want to end it with how I started it and remind you that every one of you are a victim of illegal alien crime in our country. And we are being forced to support these illegal alien criminals in our country. And you know, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi talk about President Trump's pet project, the wall. Well, these illegal aliens are their pet project, and they become more important than you and I. And we need to start standing up and speaking up.